Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running a really fun campaign called The Gloaming from Cursed Scroll 1 by Arcane Library using the Shadowdark RPG role-playing game system. Shadowdark role-playing game system. The Shadowdark role-playing game. Fantastic system. Really enjoying it. And having a lot of fun with this campaign. Very different from other campaigns that I've run, and we'll talk all about it. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of stuff like the City of Arches sourcebook, Uncovered Secrets Volume 1 and 2, a dedicated Discord server, a monthly Q&A, a whole bunch of exclusive adventures, and a bunch of tools to help you run your games. It is a very low price, and it helps me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. Yeah, I'm in a weird, is it a weird spot with Shadowdark? I don't think we're in a weird spot. So last session, the characters faced Mugdulblub. They got to level 3. They managed to successfully rest. They talked to fairies or pixies that are following Tatiana, the fairy queen. And so now they've sort of picked up quests to recover items for Tatiana. And then they kind of stopped for a minute, and the players had a conversation of like, wait, we have like a whole bunch of different quest lines we're following here. Are we supposed to be picking up magic items to return to Tatiana for passageway out of the Gloaming so we can leave this world before it is eaten by Unduluk or Almazat? Are we trying to close the gateways so that Unduluk can't make his way here? Are we trying to stop Mugdulblub and save the village? Like, what are the quests that we have? And I kind of had to explain to him. So I had that sort of like, let's pause for a minute. Just because an NPC gives you quests doesn't mean you have to follow them. And you may receive quest lines from different creatures that steer you in different directions and are contrary to one another. And you get to decide which paths you're going to follow. So I don't have a structure for this game that is so tight that it says when you pick up quests, you should follow them. But the example was they got to level 3, they talked to the pixies, they found out that they could pick up magic items in order to and use them as a subway card to get out of the Gloaming before it's devoured by Almazats. And they're like, okay, we have that, write that down. And then they went and they faced Mugdulblub. And Mugdulblub immediately recruited them. Instead of killing them, Mugdulblub said, I want you to go recover the Well of Worlds. I want you to go recover an artifact. You have proven yourselves far smarter than my other dippy followers. So I want you, and I demand that you go and find this magic item, which is apparently in the Tower of the Sorcerer Dude. Go to Haldren's Tower in Finmere Lake and seek out an artifact that I desire. It's going to look like a big piece of black fabric. Just get it and bring it here. And they're like, okay. Right, they were kind of like, I guess. I mean, sure. And they're like, I don't know, I'm going to stab it. And they're like, if you stab it, you're probably going to die. I didn't say that, but they're like, yeah. It's a giant otherworldly ooze creature. You're probably not going to survive. And then they saw the dagger, the knife, that there was a sacrificial dagger, obsidian witchblade lying on the ground nearby. And they snatched that up and almost died just getting the dagger because they immediately started losing like constitution and their health and and they're getting it and they're melting and they managed to cure that. But they picked up the Witchblade, they gave it to one of the characters and it turned out it's her mother's. And I had mentioned last session that I was a little worried about one of the characters, Morrigan Nightweaver, has a mother who was burned at the stake by a bunch of burned at the stake by the Knights of St. Idris outside of town. And she has this image of her mother burning at the stake. And it's kind of very, and she's this warlock type who's kind of connected to Shun the Vile. And I said, like, wouldn't it be interesting if the dagger was her mother's dagger lying there? And then I was like, ooh, I really should talk to her and just make sure, because that kind of paints her mother in a different light than normal. The whole idea is like, what if the Knights of St. Idris were right? Which is really grim, and I'm not super comfortable with that. They're not right. Like, you don't take a woman and tie her to a stake and burn her no matter what. But like, what if her mother actually had done some bad things and was this kind of, villainous witch? And I was like, I really want to talk to the player. And I forgot to talk to her ahead of time. And then I blurted it out. It's your mother's dagger. And then I stopped and we took a break and I I hit her during the break, and I was like, hey, are you cool if that's the case? Is this all right? I meant to talk to you about it beforehand, but I forgot. And we can steer it differently. Like right now, it's easy to steer. And she was like, no, it's totally cool. I'm good with it. And I'm like, okay, great. And I thought she would, because her characters have a tendency of going down some pretty dark paths in other campaigns we've run. So I was pretty sure that that'd be okay. But I meant to check in with her ahead of time before I had dropped in that thing. And I wouldn't have spoiled it, but I would have said, like, is it okay if it turns out that your mother had done some pretty dark stuff? Or do you want your mother to be kind of an innocent who was burned by psychopaths? And why not both? Turned out to be the answer. So they picked up the dagger, and they got out of and from the dagger they managed to get the pure essence of Mugdulblub into a thing. So they got the liquid that they can use to save the village of Wardenwood. And now their quest is to go back and do that, which is kind of what I expected they would do. But then they're like, yeah, we have all these other quests now, and what do we do? And, the answer is it's complicated, right? It's not intended that you should now suddenly, and they walked away, they're like, did we just become, like, did Mugdulblub, this horrible otherworldly entity, just become our quest NPC? And everyone's like, I think that is what happened. Yeah. And they're like, huh. So now they've got sort of big batches of quests that they can do from different groups. They have Tatiana's quests. They have the quest of the Green Knights. They have the quest of Wardenwood. They have the quest of Mugdulblub. They have these different major paths that they can follow, which is fun, right? A lot of different faction kind of stuff that's going on. They can choose who they're going to support and what path they want to take. They get to decide what they want to do with the world around them. And I think I'm happy with that, the way that's going. But then I lost track of some of them too, like the idea that they're trying to close the portals of Underluck, and they remembered that we're doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the portals of Underluck. What was the case there? So I need to kind of get my head around all of those things and figure that out. But so then they're making their way out away from Bittermold Keep, and we're going to make a new session planning template here. Once again, I'm using Notion to do my campaign planning. If you are curious about Notion, you can find information about using Notion for campaign planning in the notebook, in the notes of this show. Let's see, 19 November. So step one, we'll jump into the step, and then we'll get to the strong start, and I'll talk about what led up to the strong start, because I have a really good strong start, which is you're facing a green dragon who wants a lot of beer. How'd that happen? Right now they got another quest NPC. Green dragon wants beer. I'll draw that line in a moment. So we have our characters. We have Sirwin, elf priest seeker, outcast who came to the Gloaming looking for a new community, priest of Gedi, the elf god. Kind of average, a little rough, probably between sources of bathing. Morgan, Nightweaver, zealot, elf warlock of Shun the Vile, whose mother she is branded. Her mother was burned at the stake by the Knights of St. Yidris, and it turns out her mother is the one. Mother tore open the rift to draw, or not to draw in Underluck, or drew in Mugdulblub. I want to play with that, because I don't necessarily like the idea that her mother did it on purpose. I mean, we could do that, but I don't know. I think that's a question. We have Lickmack, a goblin wizard. Varro, so goblin wizard who seeks Mugdulblub's the cure curse for his villagers. We have Varro, fighter jeweler who held the door at the tower and is cursed by Mugdulblub. Gim, a former member of the Knight of St. Yidris. Short and stocky dwarf, carries a bastard sword twice his height, fell away from the knights after they started burning people. And Dazdor, whose background is Jay's third character. And we have the glorious dead. Bug Juice, who was dragged through a fire trap while trying to be rescued and died. Thalos, who was killed by ooze under the town and became a cheerful zombie. Thinil, who died in the acidic sandpit. Daisy, who lost the will to live in Bittermold Keep. That was the saddest one. And Ari, killed by a gelatinous cube. So we have some lot of deaths in this. I'm going to drag some of my old session notes away. I'll keep the last week's handy. So the characters are making their way back, trying to figure out who they serve and why and what they wanted to do while traveling back from Bittermold Keep to the main road. And along the way, they were one of the characters. We used the new rules that the travel rules that Kelsey had put out on the Discord server. on the on the Shadowdark Discord server. And that gave everybody tasks, and one of them was a marching song, and one of the characters began to sing the marching song. It was Varro started singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall. I think it was 999 barrels of beer on the wall was the song he began to sing. And he's singing it, and they're going through the woods, and I'm rolling checks. And he was not successful in his check, which meant that the song was not really helping people get through. And I rolled for an encounter, and I rolled an ogre. And so he stopped singing the song, and then all of a sudden the ogre that has been following him started singing it, and he broke into the woods and he said, "Where are all these barrels of beer that you keep talking about? I want some." And the characters are trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Where are they?" And he's getting really irate. And so they fought him and they killed him. They killed the ogre. He never even got a hit in, which is probably good because he probably knocked people right out if he actually hit him. But they killed the ogre, and they're like, "Oh, that's good." And then they're making their way back to the road, and they just get to the road, and they just set up camp, and a big shadow flies overhead because I rolled another random encounter, and I hit him one again, and I rolled on the check, and it was a forest dragon shows up, and I was like, that's fun. And I rolled, and it was close, and I rolled, and it was curious, I think was the motivation. Because when you roll for an encounter, this is something that is important to note with Shadowdark, is that you don't just, and I know like a lot of people kind of mentioned this when I was first playing, is that you don't just roll for the encounter, which you can see here, right? Like I rolled forest encounters. I have a lot of good encounter tables in here. And I rolled pretty high, and I think it was somewhere in here a forest dragon shows up. Yeah, an irritable forest dragon slumps lazily through the woods, I think is what I rolled. And which was kind of true. But then what you also do, you don't just roll the encounter, you also roll distance, how close they are, activity, what are they doing, and reaction. And I think I rolled the 10 or 11 for curious. I think I rolled the 2 to 4 for hunting, I think, or something like that. And the distance was near. And so I'm like, okay, I can use that. But this is a good way to use this information to get a better motivation for what exactly is happening in the encounter. It's good inspiration that you can use to determine what the encounter is going to be like. Hey, my mama is here. Hi, Mom. Everybody say hello to my mom. Check off your bingo square if you've got it. So I rolled all that, and then I had they see a big shadow go overhead. They're like, oh my God, did we just make camp? And then bam, and it lands, and this huge forest dragon comes out, and it says, "Where are these 970 barrels of beer that you've been talking about?" Right? And so they're like, oh, and so it begins, a strong start was, where are those 970 barrels of beer you've been talking about? Says, and we need a green dragon name. We'll go, I don't know. We'll, you know what we'll do? We'll roll a random name. 8, Pike, no. Rareden sounds cool. Rareden the Green. So we'll grab that name right out of says Rareden. Forest Hewer, the Green, the Forest Dragon. They're going to be facing a green dragon. Rareden Hops Lover. That'd be pretty funny. So that's their strong start, is they face the dragon. The dragon wants beer. A lot of beer. Anything else so the dragon has a neutral alignment and is probably more curious than violent. I think that's pretty good. So scenes facing Rareden, Forest Hewer and his desire for beer, traveling south to to Drusilla's laboratory, concocting the cure for Mugdulblub's curse. And then next steps, right? And while we go through this, we'll kind of think about what paths they can follow next. And they have a whole bunch of different ones. So I'm going to have to be pretty on my toes for at least half of this game because I don't know where they're exactly headed. And I probably, if I'd thought about it, I should have kind of stopped during their discussions and kind of gotten an idea of what they plan to do once they've solved Mugdulblub's curse. I didn't think a full game out, right? Here's a tip for you if you want to tip something I've talked about before, but now you can see it in action. When you're prepping a game, it helps to know where they're going to go the game after the next one. So the example is, I knew last game that they were going to go to Druzilla's hut. That was where they're headed, but I should have gone one step further to be like, and then what? And I don't need like details, but I want to know, like, of these different paths, where are they going to follow? And this actually probably helps me figure out that, like, there are now multiple factions, and the factions have quests, and I need to keep track of the factions and the quests. And maybe that's time for a new Notion page to do it. But basically, I want to know, because I want to have enough to be able to prep the next game. So like in today's session, they're going to have to make the choice of where they're going next, and then they'll go that way. And then I'm going to have to improvise up to a point, which, we'll see what we get. And then I'll be able to plan after that, because they're probably not going to get through whatever the next big quest is. But they have lots of different potential quests that are going on here. In fact, it probably can't hurt to stop. And so I think I have like a factions page. But I think what we're going to do is we'll just make a new page. And we're going to call this factions and quests. And we have one faction is Mugdulblub, and we'll put checkboxes. Acquire the Well of Worlds from the tower. What's the guy's tower? Haldren, from Haldren's tower. I think that's the only quest they got from Mugdulblub. We have Tatiana, the Fey Queen, and she's got a few, and I forget what they are. A few different things that they can recover. So one of theirs could be recover the Emerald Blade at, and the location for that, again, I think I have it in my notes. I think that's the Meyer Castle Ruins. Yeah. That's one, but I think they've got another one. In fact, I think they recover the 6 items of perfection. And I have 3 of these already outlined. They know where 3 of them are, but they don't know where the other 3 are. So, but that is another quest for Titania. And then we have the quest for the Green Knights. Green Knights don't have a page. Recover the Emerald. Inter their remains. Inter their remains and recover the Emerald Blade at the Meyer Castle Ruins. Then we have, you can tell how complicated this gets, right? There's a lot of stuff going on here. Wardenwood, cure the Mugdulblub's curse. That's a big one. Who did they receive the other quest? I guess for the gloaming in general is close the gateways, right? Close the gateways of Undaluk. And there are 2 remaining. One at the Redthorn Bandit Camp, and then I think there's another one at, let's see, the Wolf Cave. And I remember some of the other ones, which I think I wrote down for Titania. So they got a lot of different potential paths that they can take. Another general gloaming quest is rescue Haldren. They don't know about this one yet. Destroy or rout Mugdulblub is another. I don't know if they have other. That's probably enough. But, holy cow. So in my notes, I think in last week's notes, I have like all of these locations. So I had these like next steps for last time, but it got bigger than that. Did I write in my notes? I did. Look at this. I wrote in my own notes. Thanks, Past Mike Shea. Past Mike Shea helped me out by writing things down, because that came up during the session. I didn't know what that stuff was. But that's in my quests, the factions and quest page. And these are checkboxes. Whoops. There we go. So they have lots of different places they can go. Some of these overlap, right? I think so one of the secrets, some of the stuff I think they already know. If we're going to fill out some secrets, is that Titania seeks 1 magic item per person to get through and escape the gloaming before it is devoured by Almazats. Haldren was, I think I had this in a previous note. Let's take a look. We can cannibalize some secrets. Yeah, these are still good. So that's good. Greaves Redthorn. What we're going to do is we're going to copy. Wow, I have so many secrets. And we're going to copy these over and see which ones I don't need. Titania offers free passage to the realm Fae for magical treasures, 1 each. Recover before Almazatz devours the world and sends it to Marrow. Haldren, elf sorcerer of Finmere Lake, sought an artifact to rid the world of Mugdulblub and save it from the jaws of Almazatz. He hasn't been seen since. Greaves Redthorn seeks to bring Unduluk, the Marrow Fiend, into the world to speed up the process of Almazatz's digestion of the Gloaming. Greaves has some pain. He's got pain in his life. No one has heard from Haldren in months, but he was last seen in the southwest near the Vile Well. What makes it vile? Let's find out. Mugdulblub is an essence of consciousness from worlds beyond the outside. They certainly know that. They met him. He's creepy. Kytheros found Mugdulblub while looking for various worlds in space and time. Ooh, M is his fault. So what if, I guess a question is, how is Morgan's mother involved? Was she working for Kytheros? Everywhere where Mugdulblub enters the world becomes corrupted by his ooziness, and the worlds need to be destroyed according to Kytheros, the Lord of Time. We can always reinforce that. Mugdulblub wants an object kept by the elf sorcerer is simple black cloth. Bring it to him. I think do we already have that? They certainly know that, but we'll keep it in here. Mugdulblub has sent others, but wants to hedge his bets. They know that. I don't need to have 2 for those. Sorcerer Haldren has multiple artifacts kept in his vaults beneath the tower and the lake, including the Well of Many Worlds. We don't need that. Haldren has gone missing months ago seeking an artifact capable of ridding the world of Mugdulblub, a sphere of annihilation. I think we have that in here now too, right? Yeah, we can get rid of that. Greaves Redthorn, Cults of Thunla, captured Haldren in the Vile Well because he wants Mugdulblub to come and wants the world devoured. So Greaves Redthorn's a bad dude. Titania, the Fey Elf Queen, seeks artifacts. Yep, artifacts of Haldren as well, and so did the Knights of St. Yidris. That's probably worthwhile. Haldren sought an artifact capable of discernment. Didn't I have this in here? Yeah, I did. Morgan's mother, Rosalind Nightweaver, used the obsidian witch knife to bring Mugdulblub into the world. Why? Tanya wants the Emerald Blade returned to her. It was a gift from a Fey Queen to the Green Knights centuries ago. They know that, but I'm keen to keep that. A set of 6 powerful items as the artifacts of perfection are lost throughout the Gloaming. So the cheat is that almost all of these are things they know. But boy, it's a lot of things. It's more than 10. Are there any other secrets that I need? Like they're swimming in so much information right now. I don't know if I need to draw more stuff in there. Other than some of these are good connections. Like that Greaves Redthorn captured Haldren. That's good. We'll come back to that, I think. So the next steps are the factions and quests. Now, are there any of these factions and quests that I want to reinforce? I want them to have choices, but I can steer them in particular ways. But I think we'll just go over it and kind of let them choose. I don't know if there's any. I mean, I think kind of figuring out Haldren's, going to Haldren's tower is pretty good. I have a feeling they're going to head to Haldren's tower. So I probably want to think through what Haldren's tower is like. Because I think a couple of paths are going to be, they go to Haldren's tower, realize he's not there, learn that he's going to seek out another artifact, go to the Vile Well, recover Haldren, recover his artifact, and then they can use it with this. They're going to acquire the Well of Worlds and the Sphere of Annihilation. Are 2 really, really powerful items that they can use to fight against Mugdulblub. And I guess a secret, which is probably pretty important, is that if Mugdulblub is forced out of the Gloaming or destroyed completely using the Well of Worlds and the Sphere of Annihilation, Almazatz has no reason to devour the world, and Kytheros will simply forget about it because it no longer matters. That's a big secret. So the big quest that they can have is destroy Mugdulblub, and so there's really 2 things. But I think Unduluk's coming is too close to stop. The Herald must be defeated as well. So it leads a path towards where is this campaign going? But some campaign endings could be they get their magic items, they go to Titania, they hand them over, and they go to a beautiful fairy world, and that's the end of the campaign. The Gloaming is destroyed. That's fine. Another path could be we acquire the Well of Worlds, and we require the Sphere of Annihilation, and you can either use the sphere to push Mugdulblub out of the world, or actually use the two of them in conjunction to destroy him in all worlds. And that will get rid of him. And then another fun secret. What if Mugdulblub is the sentient proto-ooze from which Kytheros knew worlds? So if they destroy Mugdulblub, they'll stop Kytheros from making more worlds. This is big in scope. For like a Shadowdark Grim thing, boy, the scope of this campaign is very, very big. If Mugdulblub is destroyed in all worlds, Kytheros can't build any new ones. So many secrets. All right, but what we do need to do is Dyson. We go to Dyson logos, we go to maps. We'll go to all maps. And we are going to look for something that looks like a wizard tower. A cool looking wizard tower. We already used that map for another tower. The Infected Spire. This looks like a cool Well of Worlds map. I like it. So I'm going to open that up and save it as, put it on my desktop. Another tip to grow on is when you grab a Dyson map and we go to our locations. Where are my locations? And do we have the Vile Well? We do. So go to the Vile Well. We will put in a link so we know where we got the map in case we need it again. Dyson makes all of his maps giant ping files, which aren't, I don't know how he does his compression on them. He makes them really small given how big they are. But, whoa, when I export it, but you want to export it pretty big. I'm actually going to crop this a bit just because I don't think we need all that. But you want them really big because you want them to look good in a VTT when you zoom in. But it's a great big image. You can see how slow it's uploading. That is a good map for the Vile Well. We'll fill in the details later. But then I need the tower. So here's an interesting, this is kind of cool. It's like a tower that's floating. What if his tower's like on the edge? I kind of dig that. That's sort of neat. The Ion Tower. I like it. Why not? Why shouldn't we? We'll save that. My trick for Dyson Maps is grab the first one that works. You know, it's so easy to kind of like worry about every one of them. But I like to, you know, lazy way, fireman, you do fireman decision making. First solution that works is the one you do. You don't look for the ideal. You look for the first one that does it. So we got our Vile Well, Haldren's Tower. That's just my thought, by the way. If you got a better way of picking maps that's as lazy, please share. Reposition. Looks good. Bang. Reposition. Looks good. Bang. So the Red Thorn Camp, I think we'll do a little dungeon there too, right? So what would be a cool dungeon underneath? This one I'm already using. This is, I think I've already got this and I've used that map before. This is cool. Look at that. I like it. Man, Dyson, you're not here, are you? Sometimes Dyson is in the maps. Sometimes Dyson comes to the show. He's not here, but man, his maps are so good. They're so usable. So we're going to save it as desktop. And we're going to turn it from a ping to a JPEG. Say his name 3 times. Dyson logos, Dyson logos, Dyson logos. He did. He showed up before. He's been here before. So we've got some cool maps that we dropped in for the locations I think we're going to head to. There's a few others, right? There's the other locations that they're going to. But you can see it really doesn't take me a lot of time to at least get a map. And really, like a map is almost enough that you can improvise what you need. So the other locations, the Bone Cave, the Ancient Cairn, and the Mud Pit. I don't like Bone Cave. It's a cave of bones. And we are going to put it in a page. Gloaming database. Couldn't spell today. Location. So let's do a quick find a Dyson map for the Bone Cave. So Bone Cave has bones in it and is a cave. This looks good. Pretty big, but like old crypts. I'm on board with this. Again, fireman style, first one that works. Yeah, I don't know why. So VTTs don't like his compressed pings as well as JPEG. So I convert them all to JPEG just so I have the JPEG version ready to drop in. You know what I have been failing to do though is I said, oh, make sure to put a link in to the place, and then I didn't do it for the last one. I forgot. Just in case for some reason I need to get it again. Cave of Bones. What was the other? I already forgot the other two. Ancient Cairn. Ancient Cairn of what? Let's look. Why don't we look and see what the Ancient Cairn has? Cyrinia, Mother of the Circle. Ancient Cairn of Cyrinia. I don't think I spelled that right. The Ancient Cairn of Cyrinia. So now we need an Ancient Cairn. Keep scrolling. Probably not super big. That looks interesting. Look at that. It's like a dead Tarrasque. Cairn is going to be relatively small. And it's druidic. So like trees or things. I'm using this Dead Goblin Hole map. This would be great for the mud pit. So I'm gonna jump to a new one. And we're going to throw the mud pit in here. And because I use this map for my Empire of the Ghouls game, and I love it. Think how much time you're saving every time you use one of Dyson's maps. Like, how long does it take him to make one? And how long does it take us to grab it and throw it in a game? Like, imagine having to draw all these maps. And I'm doing way more prep than I need to for the next session. I'm failing in my next session advice. But it's like, well, I kind of don't know where they're going. So for me to just kind of fill in all these locations with these maps, that doesn't take hardly any time at all, right? It takes just a few seconds. A couple minutes per map, maybe. So I still need an Ancient Cairn. A cairn. So a cairn would be like a tomb, probably not real big. And again, they're a druid. So a small, one of his little index card maps would work really well. This one's kind of cool. The Temple Cave of Ruinous Ministers. It's more of a cave than a cairn. No one cares. Right? You're just using the name. It's very similar to the other map that they used for Drusilla's lab, but it's definitely different. We'll use this one again. First one that works. One nice thing is that like all of my maps use the same style, right? So like I love these maps, and some people are like, I don't like the black and white ones, but I like them because they work as battle maps when you zoom in, but they also work as big location maps when you zoom out. But it means all my maps use the same style, and my players are used to that style. And I think it gives like an overall aesthetic to my game. You know, it feels like a cohesive game when, especially if you're running like Shadowdark and everything's black and white. I don't do any color images. Every image I use is a black and white image because it's capturing that like, hey, we're playing in the 1980s sort of feel. So I think that's good. So I got lots and lots of maps. Let me look through the quests and say, are there any? So Bone Cave, I've got Mire Castle Ruins. I don't have them. Do I have the Mire Castle Ruins? I don't think I have a map for that. I do not. So let's do one more for the Mire Castle Ruins. This one is an old destroyed keep. An old ruined castle. Look at that one. That one's cool. The Sanctuary of Zeus would actually make a really good lower level of the Knights of St. Yidris, the castle of the Knights of St. Yidris. I'm not going to bother doing the whole thing, but where is the Greywall Priory? Priory is then I don't know how to spell it. Yeah. We'll just bookmark that for later. Mire Castle Ruins. That's not bad if we want a small one. This could be the upper floor, right? What I'm going to do is just to save a little time instead of going through the whole conversion. Whoops, that's not right. So I'll put a link to the Dyson map in there. I don't need to fill the whole place out right now. But I think that's a good upper floor, but I'd like a lower floor where they actually interred these are kind of cool. Look at these mini dungeons. Lance Roberts mini dungeons Dysonized. Those are pretty neat. Didn't I use this for something? I just want a lower floor, a little dungeon. Probably not anything particularly big for the Priory. That one's a great big one. I kind of like this one. This one looks good for the Priory. I like this better because it's got multiple floors already built in. Now I'm definitely just wasting time. This one looks cool. Multi-floor. I like this one a lot. Yeah. Here's our Greywall Priory. No, this is the Mire Castle Ruins. And we can get rid of this one because we already have That one has both floors. Cool. All right, way up on a hill. I dig it. There we go. All right, what else do I need for my game? I think we're probably good. I don't know where they're going. I got piles and piles of secrets. I got locations. We got interesting NPCs. Monsters are in the thing. Treasure are in the thing. So I think we're fine. I think we've got a lot. We filled out a lot of areas. We at least got a bunch of maps of different areas that they could go to. And I don't know that they're getting to any of those anytime soon. So we'll see. We'll start to fill those out. That's sort of that, I think that's probably more than I needed to do. I could have just gone through Dyson Maps, found a link and linked it. And then I can go format the map and get it ready when I know that they're heading there. But what the hell? It was there. But I think we're all set. I feel good. I feel ready to run myself a fun Shadowdark game. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while I prepared for my game. If you enjoyed this show and you want to see more stuff like this, the best way to find all of the stuff I do is to subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. You get an adventure generator PDF for signing up, and you get a weekly RPG related email newsletter sent directly to your inbox with a bunch of links to all of the other work I do, including podcasts and videos and other products that I've been working on, stuff like that. You can also support me directly on Patreon. Patrons get access to all kinds of exclusive features, the City of Arches sourcebook, Uncovered Secrets Volume 1 and 2, dedicated Discord server, a monthly Q&A, a whole bunch of great tools to help you run your games. Lots of stuff you get for becoming a patron of Sly Flourish. And you can pick up any of my books, including Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Workbook, Lazy DM's Companion, Forge of Foes, and all the fantastic adventure books available on the Sly Flourish bookstore. Thank you all so much. Have a great day and get out there and play a role-playing game. Bye-bye.